4 months, KuKirin fanboys have been absolutely bombarding my comment section, telling me that the KuKirin G4 is the best electric scooter under $1,000. Now, first off, where did you guys all come from? I had reviewed a KuKirin scooter a couple years ago, and then I didn't hear a lot about them, and then all of a sudden, over the past few months, everyone and their mom is talking about KuKirin. I'm convinced you guys are all bots. However, I did want to know if the KuKirin G4 was in fact the best electric scooter under $1,000. So what I have here is not a G4, but a Teewing GT4, the cool version of the G4, and we're going to find out together if it really is the best electric scooter under $1,000. Let's go. Now, in all seriousness, this, as far as I can tell, is identical to the KuKirin G4. It comes from the same factory even, I think. It just has a different paint job, a cooler paint job in my opinion. And it comes from Teewing, which is a brand that I'm familiar with. And I know they make great products. Their Mars GT is one of the best electric scooters at $3,000. And the Mars GTR is just an absurd hyper scooter that I've had a ton of fun with in the past. So I knew that Teewing was probably going to deliver a pretty good product, and I just wanted to spite those KuKirin fanboys. But let's get to the meat and potatoes of this review. What makes this scooter so special? Well, the first thing that stands out is the top speed. This has a claimed top speed, I think, of 43 miles an hour. So it's supposed to go over 40 miles an hour, which is basically unheard of at $1,000. The other thing are the giant 11-inch wheels. These wheels are super beefy. They're super wide, I think 4 inches wide. So you get a ton of cushioning, you get a ton of traction, you get a ton of handling and feel. And the scooter overall has such a planted, grippy feel on the ground. You also get an absolutely giant battery with a huge claimed range. You get a big center color display. You get a big twist throttle that also is a thumb throttle, so you can use whatever style you like the most. You get super wide handlebars, and you get this really chunky, beefy build that just inspires confidence. That just makes you go, this is a well-built electric scooter. Another thing I really like is this giant riding platform and really big flat tail, and I love the way they've done this tail where it has this flat section here and then it flares up at the end, and so you can really lock in your foot without it sliding off, but it's not at a super steep angle where you're going to get fatigued. It's also nice and wide, so if you're one of those weirdos that rides with your feet side by side, that is something you can do, although I don't suggest that. But my point being is that you have a lot of flexibility with how your feet are positioned. The suspension is a little bit on the plush, squishy side. There's plenty of travel, but it does bottom out fairly easily. Now we're going to jump on the scooter in a second, and I'll talk more about ride comfort and talk more about top speed and acceleration and that kind of stuff and see if it lives up to the claims. However, let me talk about a couple things that I don't like. The first is the handlebar height. These are very low handlebars, and as a 6'1" rider, I really have to lean over to grab the handlebars. Now this can be changed by just swapping out bars for something with a little bit more rise, so it's not the end of the world. You actually also have a pretty standard bike stem clamp here, and so what you can do is you can switch it out for something that has a little bit of rise. You can adjust how far away it is from you, so there is customizability, which, you know, if you look at it in that form, then it is a positive. But out of the box, the handlebars are very low. The other thing is mechanical disc brakes. Now, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for this scooter to have mechanical disc brakes. I think that it's a little funny that that's the corner that they decided to cut to save some cost. Hydraulic disc brakes really aren't that expensive, and they are vastly superior. Even the worst hydraulic disc brakes are better than average mechanical disc brakes. They're going to require more maintenance. You're going to have to adjust them constantly, and you're more likely to deal with rubbing. You're more likely to deal with them not being sensitive enough or being too sensitive. And overall, hydraulic disc brakes is one of those things that I think would have really completed this scooter for me. Another downside is the weight. This is a heavy electric scooter, and that tends to be the downside of these faster scooters, the ones with more range. this price point has some really lightweight scooters, so if that is the direction you want to go, you have options. But if you're someone like me that likes performance and is okay hauling around a little bit extra weight, then this will be totally fine for you. Now, another small downside is that it's single motor. Now, obviously you're outputting a ton of power with this rear hub motor, but dual motors will help a bit with hill climbing, and especially if you're starting on a hill. This will get beat out on a hill climb by a dual motor scooter at the same price, even if the dual motor scooter isn't as fast. Okay, let's get to the fun part. Let's jump on this, let's cruise around, talk about the acceleration, talk about the top speed, talk about the ride comfort, and give you any other impressions of this scooter so you can know if it's the right scooter for you. All right, here we go. So this has 3 riding modes, and you actually change the riding modes by using these touch buttons up here. I don't think they're going to be visible on camera, so I'll do another shot so you can see it while I'm going. Even I have a hard time seeing them while I'm riding here. Let me stop. Okay, so first we have the eco mode, and the modes cap the top speed and also change the acceleration. So this is going to be really soft acceleration. And it looks like we're getting a top speed of like 10, 11, maybe around like 10 to 12 miles an hour. We are going uphill. We're gonna go uphill for this first little section so I can kind of show you how it performs as a single motor scooter uphill. Let me switch the modes here. Okay, this is the sport mode. Once again, a little jump up in acceleration. Should be a pretty significant jump up in top speed as well. Let me get off this sidewalk here. Getting a top speed somewhere in the 18 to 20 mile an hour range, 21. Probably cap somewhere around that 20, 21, maybe 22 since we are going uphill. And then finally, let me switch it into race mode. So here's the race mode. As you can see, much more aggressive acceleration. It's not having any problems with this hill, continuing to accelerate. And we'll have a straight section here once I get to the top of this hill that we'll be able to test the top speed on as well, so I can show you that. But as we continue to climb this hill, I'll give you some impressions of the scooter. I already mentioned more or less everything that I like and dislike about this scooter. But you can kind of see how tilted down the camera has to be to get these handlebars in frame. So over the long term, this is 100% going to be a scooter that I look to swap out the handlebars on. And if you're any taller than maybe like 5'10", I would definitely suggest that. The throttle itself, I think, is a little on the firm side. I like when you have just a little bit less resistance with the throttle, so you have just a touch more control. But it is nice to have the twist throttle, and that's going to be awesome for the sections of road where you're wanting to maintain the same speed. Then you're not going to have to use, you're not going to fatigue your thumb from, holding down the thumb throttle the whole time. It is an extremely windy day today, and I think this first direction is going to be into a headwind. So we'll get a top speed that direction, and then we'll see what kind of speeds we can get with the tailwind here. Yeah, pretty significant winds. I think it's around 20 or 30 miles an hour headwind here. But even with a headwind, we're doing almost 30 miles an hour. The platform, as mentioned, plenty of space. Lots of different ways to place your foot, though with how flat this rear tail is, you can kind of just keep it on that rear tail the whole time. In terms of stability and the overall confidence I have in it at higher speeds, it's honestly pretty good. I think the big thing for me is because the handlebars are so low, I don't feel like I can get as solid as of a riding position. I feel like I'm kind of hunched over. And so I really feel like sometimes I have to like crouch and lean back, and then my legs get tired. So yeah, I think the handlebars have a huge effect on the overall stability and comfort of the scooter. We're still into a headwind here, but we're maintaining the speed limit. I'm seeing 37 on the display. You'll be able to see the GPS speed down in the corner. We are still in a headwind here. We're going 42 displayed. These are hamburger meat speeds if I crash. But with it being 110 degrees, couldn't bring myself to wear my riding jacket. So, you know, go ahead and leave your comment now about how unsafe this is. All right, now wind at my back. Let's see how fast it goes this direction here. What did we see going the other direction? I'll put it up on screen what the fastest speed we saw going the other direction was. I think we saw 42 displayed. So probably, knowing that these scooters are off a lot of the time, can imagine it's probably somewhere in the 38 mile an hour range. Here we go. Seeing 42, 39. It is a little uphill. Man, that hurts my back leg to get into that really stanced athletic position. Well, that didn't look any faster than the headwind, which means that it might be electronically limited, like firmware limited. I'm in race mode. I think I have everything maxed out. It definitely, like, once it gets to about 34, 35, it takes a second to keep climbing past that. It doesn't fly up to 40 miles an hour, which is a definite difference between this scooter and one dual motor scooters, and then other scooters a little bit more expensive. So I talk about this in my DT2 Pro review, but the way a scooter gets to its top speed can be drastically different. So just going off of top speeds doesn't necessarily tell you what the more powerful, faster scooter is. Okay, here's a good stretch. Here we go. 39, 42, 43, 44 displayed, 45 displayed. I saw 46 displayed for a second. Yeah, definitely gets a little sketchy once you get up to those speeds with the low handlebar height and the little bit higher center of gravity. Since the tires are bigger, that adds stability, but the tires also lift the scooter off the ground a little bit higher, and that can also add to the instability. Here we go, some more hamburger meat speeds. 45 displayed. This is the longest, straightest stretch on this trail, so this is it. 46. 47, I saw 47 displayed for a second. Okay. I mean, that's gotta be it. And that also answers that question about it being firmware limited. I do not think it is firmware limited. That definitely took a long straight, and also, you know, a little bit of wind at the back to get up to those speeds. So I definitely wouldn't expect those speeds. I think you can expect pretty confidently mid 30s, maybe high 30s, but I wouldn't expect to be able to cruise around town at over 40 miles an hour. That's just not gonna happen. That being said, relative to almost everything else at the price, that is significantly higher. Oh, one other thing, now that I've been riding for a while, I definitely feel like the grips for my hands are too small. So if you got bigger hands and you're taller, you might just want a full cockpit swap out. But the nice part is that you can buy a scooter like this and have money left over. You can, if you have got something like a $1,500 budget, you can get a scooter that goes as fast as a $1,500 scooter. Leave yourself some budget room to swap out the handlebars, get you some nice grips. And also that's a great way to customize it and make it your own. I also think another great upgrade would be the hydraulic brakes. Now, as you've seen, I haven't had any problems with the disc brakes, but I also haven't been riding on streets where I'm constantly needing to brake. I didn't take a lot of surface streets. I definitely just, stuck to that bike trail as much as I could. I generally like to do that because I'm riding as much as I am, and just statistically, I feel like the more I can avoid streets, the longer I can avoid an accident, getting hit by a car or something like that, because sometimes with the way people drive, it just feels like a matter of time. So, after testing this electric scooter, after ripping around, do I think it's the best electric scooter under $1,000? Maybe. It's very close. It's definitely one of my favorites under $1,000, and I hate admitting that people are right, but the KuKirin G4, the Teewing GT4, if you're looking for performance, it is very, very, very hard to beat the value proposition of this electric scooter. I mean, a ton of range, 40 miles an hour of top speed, plenty of acceleration, and in terms of bang for the buck performance-wise, it's almost impossible to beat. There's like the awesome L2 Max, which is dual motor, so you're gonna get better hill climbing with that and a little bit better acceleration. There's like the Splash Thunder. That electric scooter is also dual motor and is going to give this run for the money in terms of acceleration and hill climbing. So you do have some other options. I can't definitively say that this is the #1 scooter at the price, but it's pretty dang close. So if you want to get the cool version of the G4, here it is. Link will be down below in the description, as well as a discount code if I have one. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for riding along with me, and I'll see you in the next one.